So, you're getting ready to do an image session, but is your camera set up correctly? I thought mine was. What about the offset? What is an offset? How do I know if it's set correctly? How do I set it up correctly? What is the process in doing it? Well, that's what we're going to learn about today on another episode of Astro Playground. Stick around. So let's jump into this. Offset, what is it? Well, it's just as the name says. It is an offset for the image sensor of the camera as it relates to the histogram. The histogram is the absolute best way to determine what an image is doing, both on the blacks and the whites, as it relates to that image. One of the things that we're doing is collecting photons, and we want to be able to maximize the amount of usage of the sensor that we have for our particular cameras. So if the offset is affecting where the camera's efficacy is and how it's performing, if we have moved the offset too far, to the right of the histogram, we're wasting a whole bunch of space and pixels in there, and those pixels are just they're just sitting there dead, not active, just waiting to screw up your day as it relates to noise and noise reduction. Kind of like an alien, sitting in your light bucket. It just waiting to mess up your day, and you don't want that. So if we look at the histogram here's an example of what we're talking about with the histogram. We have a nice image here of the moon. I shot quite a few years ago. I'm just going to use this as an example. It may look like a black and white or a monochrome image, but it's not. If you look closely at the stars, you can see the different colors that are resident there in the stars. This was actually one of my favorite images of the moon that I shot with one of my big Nikons on a 300mm lens. But we're going to use this just as an example of what I'm talking about with the histogram. So we can play around with the shadows and the blacks and such, but I just want to show you what happens when we move the exposure slider to the right and the left, and that affects the histogram here. This histogram that you see here is a true representation of what is going on in each of your images. All right. So anything that is pushed to the far left is effectively utilizing the black area of the image. Anything to the far right is to the white image of the whites in the image. That, of course, white is a representation of all the colors, the primary colors, RGB. So if we move our slider, and we'll go, say we go right first, you can see what happens. It will completely blow out the image, and anything that is in that image, as you can see with the moon, it is completely clipped to the right, and that data is effectively lost. All right. So if we move that slider back, there's nominal. All right. And then if we go the other direction, you can see that we are now basically anything that is here. And if I click on here, you can see anything that is blue is clipped to the left. And therefore data is it is lost. Anything that is blue, there is no usable data there. All right, and we can take that down even more if we just take our shadows and our blacks all the way down to null, and then look again. You can see that just about everything, 99% of what's in that image is completely clipped. All right, so what I'm getting at is that the histogram is a true representation of what is going on in your image. All right, that histogram will dictate to you what the image is actually doing. All right, so in looking at how to make sure that what is represented here on the on the right hand, the left hand side of the histogram is being fully realized in your image and on your sensor. We need to make sure that our offsets are reflecting that correctly. So we'll get into that right now. And we're going to take a look at a couple of the settings and a little bit of understanding as to what it is that we're doing here. It's important to note that if you're going to be changing anything within your camera settings, that's going to affect your calibration frames. So any major significant changes that you make to your camera, you're going to have to redo your calibration frames. So this is a good time to do these initial steps and get them done so that it will not affect your calibration frames. All right. So again, anything that affects your gain, your offset, any of the other limits to the camera, you're going to need that is going to affect your calibration frames. All right. So you have to, if you change that, you're gonna have to change your calibration frames. So in looking at this, what we have right now, and my camera, the ZWO 2600 mono, and it on my particular scope, I bin that at 3x3 to ensure that I don't get any oversampling. It's just one of those necessary steps with that particular camera and telescope setup. Right now I'm using unity gain, the default unity gain, which is at 100. The offset defaults to 50 automatically. Okay. Now, and you'll see that the offset in that this default offset is not optimal for this setup. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to jump over here to our imaging tab, and we want to pull the histogram out and float the histogram. You can find that in the statistics tab. If you don't know where that is, in Nina, it's up here. It looks like this bar graph right here. All right, statistics tab, and you can pull that down into one of your panels. All right, I have it here, so I'm going to just pull this out and set it flat up in here like this and move it around. And then what we'll do is take an image and see where the spike falls. Okay, so as it stands right now, we have 472 pixels that are basically being clipped. All right, and that will, and the reason that you don't want that is primarily because it's going to degrade your image quality. Not a lot. The high dynamic range isn't going to be affected too terribly bad, but it's going to make for processing the your frames for noise reduction more challenging. And you want to, you don't, in this hobby, you don't need anything more challenging. You need things less challenging. All right, there's enough challenge as it is. All right, so what we want to do is we want to reduce this number as far as we can. So let's go to the extreme, all right, and move it to the highest setting. So if we come back over here to our equipments tab and look at our camera, some cameras you are going to have the defaults within a particular range, and this range is different for different cameras. All right, for you may see a much larger range in your offset in other cameras. In the ZWO camera, because it has such a high dynamic range, it's 14 stops of high dynamic range, which is a lot. Okay, that's a lot of range, a tremendous amount of range, and I'm going to show some examples of what that range is in the exposure triangle, like for just regular imaging cameras, like Nikons and Canons and so on and so forth. The exposure triangle, which is your ISO, your shutter speed, and your aperture. Okay, in telescopes we don't have a variable aperture. All right, You know, and ISO translates to basically to gain. There's a little bit of difference, not a lot, but basically ISO and gain are synonymous, very similar. The shutter speed is, of course, you know, how long you're leaving your shutter open. The aperture, for the most part, in telescopes stays the same. All right, so you have to work around the other two. So you know, in the gain, gain is going to be affected, you know, by that, and that's why I basically just use unity gain. The images that I'm going to put up here, as it relates to aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, will show you how you change any one of those and how it's going to affect the stop value that you see. There's an enormous range in there, but the ZWO camera has 14 levels of stop range. That is a tremendous amount, even in comparison to the examples that I'll put up right here. So what we want to do is in the histogram, we want to make sure that where on the right hand side of the histogram is represented by all white. The left-hand side is represented by all black. We want to make sure that the camera is using as much of those pixels in between that range as we can. All right. So the offset is going to move the marker for your histogram to the right, off of the left edge, by just enough to clear, so that you're maintaining your high dynamic range, but you're not clipping and losing data in pixels that are basically dead. Okay, they're not being used, and that will also affect the noise reduction processing that you go through, you know, with your images. Those images are that noise reduction imaging is something that can be and often is affected by the position of the offset. All right, so let's just get into this and show you what I'm talking about. If we come over here, we're as I said, we're gonna start with a unity gain 100, an offset of 50. Okay, and we're going to just come over here and take an image. Now here is our histogram. Unfortunately, Nina's histogram is not terribly sensitive, so it takes a little bit of looking at it. If you see right here, there's a spike right here that is all the way over to the very edge of the histogram. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take an image. And that image is going to be basically the same kind of image that you would take in doing your bias frames. Okay, so the camera is dark, it is cooled, all right, and it is being shot at a very fast rate of speed. Right now, it's 0.001, so it's a very fast shutter speed. All right, and if we look here, right now we are sitting at about 474 pixels that are in essence dead. All right, so if we come over and we come back over here to our equipments tab and we bump this up to the limit, and as you can see, this ZWO camera has a limit of 240 on the offset. Some cameras have a higher limit, there are cameras that go way up in the limit. This one is fixed at 240, so we're going to change this to its maximum, 240, and see what it does to the histogram. So we'll come back over here to imaging, and we'll take an image and watch what it does to the spike. The spike will move. See, that spike moved. Okay, so now what I want to get across is that everything to the left of this spike, is dead. The pixels are not being used to gather information. All right, and as a result, you're losing dynamic range. Not a lot, but you are losing dynamic range. But it's also going to mess with your processing as it relates to noise reduction. All right, so right now you can see we are we are sitting at a mean and median at 2400, right? And the minimum is 2370. So there is a significant amount of pixels here that are not being used. All right, and it's going to add to your to the noise of the frame. So we want to get this number here down to as pretty much as low as we can go. If I can get it into the low double digits, I'm going to be happy. All right. So what we need to do is go back over to our equipments tab, and we need to adjust this down. Now we started at 50. I bumped it up to 240. So we're going to take it down to say half of 50. We'll take it down to 25, all right, and see where 25 gets us. So we come back over here and we take an image, and again, watch what that spike does. Watch what that spike does. It's gonna bump clear over. Yep. And the thing is, it looks like it's beyond the range, but it's not. You know, it is just to the right of the range by 220 pixels. Okay, so we want to get that down even more than that. All right, so we're going to take it down even more. So we'll come back over here to our equipments tab, and we're going to take this down to, say 10 on the offset. All right, and we'll come back over, take an image, and watch what this number does. The spike, you're not going to see any real change in the spike. Where you're going to see it is in here. Okay, and as you can see, it's taking it down to 75. Now it's double digits, but it's higher double digits. So I want to get it even lower than that. So I'm going to take it down to 5. We're going back over here, and we're going to take the offset down to 5. All right, down to 5, and we're going to see where we're at. Take an image and watch what we get here. Okay, 28. That's reasonable. Okay, that's reasonable. So the mean and median are the same. All right, and we are down to 28 pixels that basically are not there. Right, they're not being used. That in the dynamic range aspect of things, that's more than acceptable, and it's not going to mess with your processing as it relates to noise reduction terribly bad. So that right there is an effective. That's an acceptable range. All right. So again, we come back over to the equipments tab and look. We are at a unity gain of 100. We're at an offset of 5 versus where it was at 50. All right, and it defaults to 50. Now, a lot of people don't even realize what those defaults do until you look at what the histogram is doing. Okay, is this going to be a dramatically huge difference in your image quality? No, but it is going to increase your image quality. Okay, and it's going to make the processing, especially for noise reduction, easier. So, and it costs you nothing. It costs nothing, absolutely nothing. You're just basically maximizing the effectiveness of the sensor. That's all you're doing. All right. Now, again, if you change any of the values in the camera settings, you change the binning, you change the the gain, you change any of those values, right? It's going to affect your offsets. So anytime you do that, you need to come back over here and just try to get the offsets back to this number right here. You know, low double digits. Okay, that's what you want to do, and fortunately it's easy to do. All right, it's not hard to do. You just need to remember to do it. All right, I need to remember to do it.
You get the idea.
All right, so you know, and a lot of times I don't remember to do it. Scatterbrain, right?
Many unbearable moments later.
At any rate, so that is basically where we're at with Nina. And remember to pull your images out here. And the example that I used with the histogram, right? Remember that your histogram is everything when it comes to your image. I as a photographer, terrestrial photographer, and portrait and landscape photographer, you know, and all the work that I've done there, I always rely on the histogram. I was trained to do that for years and years, decades ago. I was trained to do that. Rely on the histogram. You know, don't rely on what that little LED screen is telling you. That's a good for preview, but if you want to know what the actual image is doing, look at your histogram. All right, the histogram is the actual digital representation of what that image is. All right, and if you can get that, you know, into your process and understand the importance of the histogram and how to use it effectively, it will serve you well. It will serve you well. So this is just, you know, one example of setting up your camera correctly. All right, and from here, then you can take and use these settings and go into your light session. But again, if you've changed anything in here, it's going to affect your calibration frames. So you're going to need to retake your calibration frames. All right, but other than that, you know, that's where we're at with Nina. So there we have it. Offsets, how they work, why they work, what advantage they give you. It's an important aspect of setting up our cameras correctly. And it's also important, again, to note that if you change anything in your camera, offsets, gain, anything, you need to retake your calibration frames. Can't emphasize that enough, including your lights. You're going to have to retake those. That's why doing this step initially is so important. Getting this set first in priority and then moving forward. It will help a great deal. So if you like this kind of content and you'd like to see more of what we do, I would ask you to consider subscribing to our channel. Hit that like button. If you like this video, give us a like. And hit that notification bell. That notification bell is one of the most important things that you can do as a subscriber to our channel, because that alerts you to when we have new content. So I would also encourage you to go down below and add a comment. Tell us how you do your process. If you see something that I'm doing that you think you can do better, let me know. I certainly don't know everything. I'm still learning myself. I hope I never stop learning. But I also want to encourage you to point out the things that I'm doing that you consider to be mistakes. If I'm making mistakes, I'm the first one to admit that I was wrong. So it's important that we develop that communication with our subscribers, and we love to hear from you. So comment in those in the comment area. Ask your questions. Tell me what I'm doing right. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. You know, tell me if you just think I'm being an idiot.
I'm an idiot!
It doesn't matter to me. We're going to keep bringing this great content to you. And I would also encourage you to check out Astro World telescopes. There is an affiliate link that I'm going to include in the description down below. And if you just click on that link, it doesn't cost you anything, but it goes a long way to helping our channel out and to supporting what we do here so that we can bring that content to you. I would also encourage you to come over and check us out at Astro World TV. Astro World TV, I'm going to put a QR code right here. And that QR code will get you over to the show. The live show is every week, twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk all things astro. We talk astrophotography. We talk telescopes, telescope gear. We are a community of brothers and sisters that love this hobby, and we're interested in growing our knowledge base and learning from one another, and that's what we do at Astro World TV. So come check us out Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, I would encourage you, if you like this content, subscribe to us. Come back and see us again. And until we do meet again, and there will be more videos coming very shortly, I can assure you, I would offer that you continue to keep imaging, keep educating, and clear skies. From all of us here at Astro Playground, bye for now.